Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, that's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear.
Well, there you got leaked voicemails from Hunter Biden's laptop, contradicting claims that Joe Biden made about having no knowledge of his son Hunter's overseas business dealings. But the White House does not want to talk about it. Nope, not going to do it. Watch.
He says, I think you're clear. How is that not him talking to his son about his overseas business dealings?
We're not, from this podium, I am not going to talk about alleged materials from the laptop.
So
I will,
are you disputing the president's voice on the voicemail?
I cannot comment on any materials from the laptop.
Why not? Outkick founder Clay Travis can. Hey, Clay, is that acceptable? I'm not going to comment about the president's voicemail?
Yeah, look, no, it's not acceptable. And what happened here is Joe Biden has 100% been caught in a lie. And the White House has no idea how to respond. And let's also realize, how often do you say, I think you're in the clear, when you haven't done anything wrong at all, right? This is like not only a bad voicemail that's 100% Joe Biden, but he's caught saying, hey, Hunter, I think we might have got along with it, gotten away with it. It feels like a Scooby-Doo episode in some ways, the way that Joe Biden is talking. I will say one positive is they didn't attempt to say this was Russian disinformation or that they had faked Joe Biden's voice or that the laptop wasn't real, which was what they all said back in October when the New York Post initially broke this story.
Clay, I'm always trying to make that connection, make sure that the focus isn't on Hunter, but is on our president, who we elected, and his role in this. But at some point, I can't help but think, like, when I look at the laptop, when I look at the daughter's diary, there's some passive aggressivity going on here. Like, these things are coming out because these kids are in some way, I think, how does that happen? I mean, a leaked laptop, these leaked calls, it just seems too much. Like, is Hunter trying to send a message to his dad?
I think Hunter Biden's a crackhead, and crackheads don't always make great choices. And so he solved and saved everything on this laptop.
Right.
And ultimately, when you break this down and start to look at all of the details surrounding the Joe Biden and his family, they are everything that Democrats spent 6 years telling us Donald Trump and his family were. If Donald Trump Jr. had a laptop with 1 billionth of the data and the issues that Hunter Biden has on there, the media would never stop talking about it. If there were any indications that 10% for the big guy and Tony Bobulinski and all of those issues, which appear to be irrefutably true based on all the data, if Donald Trump Senior, 45 himself, had any of this associated with him, the media would be at his throat all the time. Here we have it with Joe Biden, and for the most part, they're pretending it isn't there.
Sure. Exit question for you, Clay. You're a lawyer. For her to say, the alleged materials, we know there's a criminal investigation going into Hunter's background. He himself has admitted it regarding his taxes and stuff like that. Maybe the White House just doesn't want to make an official statement that could, if there's a trial or something, they don't want to have somebody come up and say, well, now, according to the White House press secretary, blah, blah, blah.
Also, of all the people that could be trying to defend Joe Biden for this issue, Karen Jean-Pierre might be the worst, all right? I mean, at least if you have a lawyer who's been highly trained and understands the intricacies of the law, they can provide some semblance of a defense. Karen Jean-Pierre can't even tell us when we're going to have baby formula on the shelves again. She's certainly not going to be able to defend Joe Biden from saying, hey, we think we got away with it on a voicemail, essentially, with Hunter Biden, guys.
Can I just brief my family if they're watching? Don't record my voicemail.
Exactly.
Can we please stop downloading?
Why did Hunter do that?
Well, think about how weird
That's
that
my
is
question.
in the first
Do you have a
place.
tax
I don't even know how to do it on a laptop.
I don't know how to do it either. But, Clay, you should brief your family, too. You're a public figure.
Hey, if they're watching, definitely do not record Dad's voicemails, guys.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Alec Baldwin is
Even
too
the
late.
fact that Joe Biden left a voicemail. Who even leaves voicemails these days? He didn't send a text. That's an old man move in the first place.
I hear you.
that. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Clay. Appreciate it. Go get Outkick.
Thank you all.
Outkick.com.
Have a good morning.
To find out the latest about everything.
Thank you.
Clay Travis, not an old guy.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.